Welcome to the Cambridge Financial Podcast with Bert Salazar, CEO at Cambridge Financial Partners, LLC. This podcast is all about tax-preferred retirement planning, economics, financial risk management, and achieving a risk-free and successful financial life. Now, your host, Bert Salazar. Bert Salazar. Bert Salazar.
Hey, good day, everyone. Welcome to another podcast. As always, I'm excited to be here with all of you today. And wow, this is Labor Day weekend 2020. So, the year is almost over. I mean, most of the planning that I'm doing for many of my clients, we're already thinking about 2021. And I provide a lot of CFO services to my clients as well. So, this is something that I do on a monthly basis for my business clients. But I want to take just a few minutes of your time today, and I want to talk a little bit about something that is actually a case study that I want to share with you that just came back to me about 2 weeks ago. This is actually episode 125. So thank you all once again for being here with me every single week. And the name of this episode is Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn. And this is something that, these clients are learning pretty dramatically every single day, and it's not something that they wanted to, or at least they thought they were going to be in a much better position today than they actually are. But I'm going to tell you a story about a husband and wife. He's 66 and she's 62. The husband is a retired LEO, that's a law enforcement officer here in South Florida. The wife is a retired Miami-Dade County State Attorney's investigator. Both enjoy a public pension, so that's awesome because, they're sitting at the top 1% of the food chain because a vast majority of Americans do not have a pension at their disposal. But these two individuals, husband and wife, they enjoy each of them a public pension. It's actually through the Florida retirement system, which is one of the best pensions in the country. Now, they both contributed very heavily to their deferred comp IRAs and 403Bs annually, and they did that for years. Now, they came to see me, the first time they came to see me was about 14 years ago, and they came to see me because they had heard that I was doing a lot of business with public employees and public safety employees because of my former background and career. So they came to see me at that point in time, and we had a really good conversation. I started thinking about doing some planning for them, and we had a lot of discussions, but I tell you what happened at that point in time. Now, the husband participated for 5 years in the DROP program, and the wife participated for 3 years. For those of you that may not know what DROP is, DROP is Deferred Retirement Option Program. So if you happen to be a public employee in the state of Florida, you do have the option to, if you're eligible for retirement, you can choose to go into DROP. You can continue to work, and depending on when you started and when you retire, you may be able to do a 5-year drop. The city of Miami has a 7-year drop, so that means that for these two individuals, he decided to do a 5-year drop, so he actually retired. He stopped earning retirement credits, but because he continued to work, the pension had to be paid somewhere. So the pension is paid to a drop account, which is a qualified plan account, and upon total retirement and exiting the system, then the employee has the ability to either take all of that drop money, all that pension benefit that was paid to this individual for five years, and for his wife for 3 years, and then they can take it in a lump sum, which nobody ever does, or they can roll that to their own IRA, which is what they decided to do. So because of the fact that he participated for 5 years and she participated for 3 years, they were putting all that pension benefit into the drop account, so it increased their qualified accounts significantly in a very short time. Now, they're currently receiving pensions and also Social Security benefits, and no Social Security calculation or Social Security benefit calculation was ever made. Now, between the drop money that they have and other retirement accounts, they have $1.1 million in tax qualified money. So when you look at these two individuals and you look at their life and what they have been able to accomplish in all the years that they dedicated to public safety and public service, you would think that these individuals are on top of the world. I mean, they enjoy 1%. They have because of the fact that they're on the 1% side that is receiving pension benefits, you would think that you would want to be in their shoes, and I know that I would definitely would want to do that, but obviously I would have made a lot of changes along those lines prior to reaching retirement age. So I think the question for all of us here to consider, because after 14 years, they finally came back to see me approximately 3 weeks ago. So what are they complaining about? Well, taxes, of course. They're complaining quite a bit about taxes. And as I said earlier, they came to see me 14 years ago. And at that time, my feeling was that they knew it all, because they had been talking to other retirees and, within their same department. And they had done a lot of stuff themselves. So although they came to see me, they thought they knew it all. And I asked them, well, why did you come to see me if you think you have everything down to a science? And they said, well, Bert, you've been doing a lot of work with public employees and public safety employees, so we just wanted to come and visit with you and get some ideas, from you as to, what you think our planning is so far and where to take it from there. Now, at that time, 14 years ago, I asked them to shift some of their deferred comp and 403B contributions to Roth, because they were maxing out their contributions to their 403B and the Roth and the deferred comp that they were contributing to, and they obviously declined to do so. Now, I asked them to delay Social Security benefits and not file for benefits until they had done a proper Social Security calculation, and they declined because obviously years later they went ahead and started taking Social Security benefits way too early for my liking, based on their personal circumstances, and then obviously now they're paying the price for that. Even at today's rates, they're invading their qualified accounts in order to offset taxes and inflation. So think of it this way. They both have guaranteed pensions. Now, they've never done anything about debt management or debt elimination, so they still have a heavy mortgage, and they own another piece of property that they have a mortgage on that property, and that property was, rented for a couple of years, but now they haven't had anyone in the property for the last 6 months, and now they're paying the price for that. But even at today's tax rates, which after the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 that took effect January 1 of 2018, these clients are paying a lot of money in taxes, and they will continue to do so for many, many years to come. And because of that, they're finding themselves invading their qualified accounts, because they don't have to until age 72, which would be the required mandatory distribution at that point in time, but they have no choice in order to be able to offset inflation and taxes along those lines. Now, I asked them 14 years ago to also consider long-term care solutions, and they wanted to think it over. Now, obviously, I never heard back from them until 3 weeks ago. So what do you think they did regarding long-term care? They did absolutely nothing. Now, they're quite concerned now about Biden winning the election and for their taxes to go up even more. And what I said to them, well, c'est la vie. It is what it is. You haven't done any proper planning, and you left yourselves, wide open and fully naked on a tax liability. And what I always say to clients, and I said to these two clients as well, only when the tide goes down will you know who was swimming naked. Well, now they're finding themselves in international waters on a dinghy with no paddles, and they're swimming naked. So, that's a major problem for them. Now, The husband, and this is sad, he's currently suffering from early dementia. And that can only get worse. So, those are challenges that they're going to have to deal with in the next few years. And how bad is it going to get, and how quickly is it going to get to that level? They both chose a life income only pension, and they both signed off on each other. If you work for an employer, whether it's a private sector employer or a public employer, if you decide to take, and you're married, if you decide to take a life income only option, then you need to have your spouse sign off on it. And what a life income only option means is that, their pension benefits are going to die with them. So if the husband dies first, so will the pension benefits. And if the wife dies, so will her pension benefits as well. But they both decided to do that because they would be receiving a higher pension benefit by not taking a survivor benefit. Now, I can see some value on that, except that if you're going to make that choice, then you have to do some proper pension maximization, which, by the way, in this case, they didn't. So now they're in international waters on a dinghy with no paddles, and they're swimming totally naked. Because if the husband dies in a few years from now, his pension benefit, which is the largest one of the two out of Miami-Dade County, is going to go away. And now she's going to have no choice but to live on her pension benefit and obviously the higher of the two Social Security benefits. So they're starting to see, after our conversations, they're starting to get really, really scared. As a matter of fact, during our meeting, which lasted about 90 minutes more or less, the husband got to the point that he was very, very quiet. And he was quiet for about 20 minutes, and finally I asked him, I said, look, is there anything you want to share? And he says, Bert, I can't conceive that we have made all of these mistakes and that we visited with you 14 years ago and that we took you for granted. And, it's sad to hear. Now, it made me feel good in the sense that, they understand finally the value that I bring to the table. But, had they listened to me 14 years ago, they would be in a total different position today. Now, because of the fact that they both chose a life income only option, now their qualified accounts, their drop money and their IRAs, everything is in an IRA right now, plays even a bigger role that it could have ever been conceived. And the challenge for them is that now they're invading those accounts in order to maintain their standard of living. Now, although they seem financially well positioned today, based on the information that I have just given you, and don't even consider the dementia issue, where do you think they're going to be in 10, 15, or 20 years from now? How about 30 years from now? Where do you think that they're going to find themselves at that point in time? Here are some of the things that I'm going to give you that I had a discussion with them that you must, as you listen to this podcast, ponder over as you start to look at your own personal finances, your own personal decisions, and your own personal retirement and financial life. Will taxes be higher then in 10, 15, 20 years from now? I would argue absolutely. Will inflation be higher then? I will also argue absolutely. What does healthcare look like for them? Now, they have a really good healthcare plan through the Florida retirement system and their individual departments, but is it going to be enough? Is it going to be enough? Will the husband be alive in 10 years from now, since he already has early dementia? What kind of dementia is he going to have? How much is long-term care going to cost for them? Now, the husband has dementia. The wife is okay, but will she have a long-term care need at some point in time in the future? Now, and because of the fact that they haven't done anything for long-term care, any additional expenses are going to have to come from their existing retirement accounts. And how much more is that going to be? Is it going to have to go into an assisted living facility? Is it going to have to go into a full-blown nursing home? You know, in Florida, the cost of a nursing facility today is hovering around $100,000 a year. And that's in addition to everything that they need to spend money on. Now, obviously, because of all the assets that they have, they're never going to qualify for Medicaid. So all that money, all those additional expenses are going to come from those retirement accounts. And how long are those retirement accounts going to last? You know, it was sad because during our meeting, they probably apologized 20 times for being stupid 14 years ago. And the reason why I named this podcast Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Learn is that only when things like this happen is when most people will realize the mistakes that they have made. You know, my job for each and every one of you as we visit every week, and for every single webcast or video that I put out, is to continue to educate you, to continue to see things above and beyond where you would see them otherwise. You know, I usually end every single podcast that, you know, in saying that my goal for each and every one of you is to kind of help you change the way that you see things. Because when you change the way that you see things, the things that you see change. Well, and there's a reason why I say that in every single podcast. Because I've seen it all. I've been in this industry for 30 plus years. I've been a retirement strategist, a tax planner. I've done a lot of insurance planning and estate planning for clients. So I've seen it all. I have over 70 clients that have already retired. And these are clients that I have actually had to walk them through the retirement pathway. And I continue to do so today because they're my clients. So in many ways, I have retired over 70 times myself. Because every time I retire, every one of my clients retires, I have to retire with them because each client is different. They come with a different set of circumstances. They have different assets, they have different liabilities, they have different sets of investments. But my goal is to make certain that I can save them not only from themselves, but also to save them from all of the things that are going to be coming down the pike that they have very little control over. And this is why I encourage each and every one of you to take a look at your finances, to visit with your financial advisors, to start thinking about some of the points that we talk about every single week on this podcast. And if you don't have an advisor that you trust, then feel free to reach out to me. You know, you can call me at area code 786-766-1042. You can also send me an email at Bert, B-E-R-T, at bertsalazar.com, BERTSALAZAR.com. And always remember, as I always say, that my goal is to help you change the way that you see things. And as you can see from these clients, you know, this is a major issue. Because when you change the way that you see things, the things that you see change. So once again, I want to thank you all for joining me today. Please enjoy this Labor Day weekend. Stay safe. Make sure that you maintain social distancing. I think we're almost at the end of this pandemic, and I'm hoping for a great end of year and a great 2021. So to all of you, I'll talk to you soon. I'll talk to you next week. You take care and have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.